Welcome to Southern Soul Chats, where real conversations meet faith-filled truth. This season, we're stepping into a special series called Faithfully Funded, where we talk about money through the lens of faith, trust, and relational equity. Because every dollar carries a story, and how we handle money shapes not only our finances, but our relationships and our walk with God. I'm Dr. Miranda Ferguson, and this season I'm joined by Matt Miller, author of Two Sides of Every Dollar. Together, we'll explore money not just as something to manage, but as a mirror, revealing what we value, who we trust, and how we love. So wherever you're listening from, lean in as we learn to live and give faithfully funded, one step at a time. Hey guys, welcome back to Southern Soul Chats. This is episode number 4 of our journey with money, really.
Sibling podcast.
We call it Faithfully Funded, but it is now the Sibling Podcast. So listen, if you were around for the last episode, which we hope you were, and if you weren't, here is your nudge to go back. But we are bringing the family back together. Last week, we talked about 2 siblings, cash and generosity. And this week, we're going to invite the family back to the table, and we're going to include the other siblings, which are
saving and investing.
I knew it this time. I just wanted to let you say it.
I could tell by your facial expression.
I really did. I didn't remember. Plus, I have notes, so there you go.
There you go.
So over the course of this episode, we will be reflecting back to some of those thoughts as well and incorporating, just like we did in the last episode where we brought some of these thoughts in and just interweave them. So that's why I say if you have a minute, go back and check it out. If not, don't worry, get a pen and a piece of paper because you're going to need it. Matt's got...
Stated yourself.
Be quiet. Matt has got tons of good information and knowledge, and just one of the things I love about this conversation, again, that we're having is just the different take of this whole topic of money and the way you like to say it, relational equity.
Yeah, hence the reason for the siblings, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of times, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it may be, reunions, etc., they can be great. They can also be full of tension. I think if we're transparent with each other, sometimes while we're driving there, we can, okay, now don't forget that so-and-so is, this is just the way that he is. And don't forget about so-and-so because she's going to ask this question. So just be prepared. Yeah. And I think it's a good metaphor. It is what it is. You have, when it comes to cash, generosity, saving and investing. Think of the saving and the generosity piece. If they're brother and sister, they, in many ways, may look like they're 2 different things. And so they want 2 different paths.
Right.
I'm going to speak to that today, and I think they can be more aligned than maybe what we think.
I love that. So I know that being a single mom in the past and just different areas of my life and times, saving could be scary. It could feel overwhelming. But, God calls us to be faithful preparers and not anxious controllers. Now, I'll let everybody guess which one I am, which one I struggle with.
Well, my phrase is a control enthusiast.
Oh.
Which is just a spin on the same thing.
I know, but that's so good.
Well, that's why I said it.
Because
it makes it sound better than a control
really
freak.
Okay, thank you. That is going to be my new verb.
Type A, all those things that I am.
My husband is going to love that. Yeah. Wait till I bust that one out on him.
We're going to talk about while we're fishing.
So here we go. The 5 uses. You ready? I'm going to try them. Think I can do it? You think I can do it? Here we go. So we've been talking about generosity, saving, spending, taxes. And it's okay, I can't. What's this one?
It starts with a D.
Debt. But look, I gained some fingers this episode.
You did. I'm proud of you.
See, if I can learn, anybody can learn.
Several more episodes left, and we're going to get all 5.
By the end, I'm going to nail it. I can't wait.
I like it.
So saving is how we respect the future, not how we fear it. That's how I feel. That's how I feel today.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a great way to think about it, for sure. I think that when you think of saving, there are various ways to save.
Yeah.
So let's go, again, let's talk about life. So what are ways that we help save ourselves? And why do you do it?
Yeah.
Let's run with that. What's a way that you help save yourself from whatever it is, and why do you do it?
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to last week about margin because some seasons back, we talked about a book called Margin. And we had guests that talked about margin, but it wasn't margin in your finances. It was more margin in your daily life. Now, it did talk a little bit, but it wasn't the main focus. And how to create margins and space in your life. And so when I think about that, fast forward to now, I think about a lot of soul training and making margin, making space for God, making space for people. So for me, it may look different than a lot of other people when I think of it that way.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's your thought. And that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
So mine wouldn't be the same, but I like to avoid certain things that I know I might have the tendency to do. And I'll just pick on myself.
Okay. I'm here for it.
I'll pick on you too.
Sure, I know.
I told you earlier, let's get going because I have a tea time.
And I'm going to make sure to get you there late. Go ahead.
And we had a good laugh at that, right? But if I'm not careful, something that I really value, and I can make excuses all day long,
right?
It can overtake something that is more important to me.
Right.
And so I want to safeguard against that. And I want to make sure that I protect myself, because if it's valuable, it's this what I believe in. If it's valuable, it's worth investing in and protecting, and then it's worth growing. If it's valuable, all three of those things should be applicable. So in order to do that, it would be wise to save for it somehow.
Right.
To create margin in your thought life, okay, or your walk with Christ.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of something.
Yeah.
And you have to, so you starve it out and then you save something else.
Right.
Because we only have 24/7.
It's just not enough sometimes.
I don't know if I would want more, to be frank. That's another podcast altogether.
True. And that is part of the reason why I like daylight savings and most people hate it, I know, so don't come at me for this. But I like daylight savings because I feel like it actually aligns with my inner being, and knowing that it's dark and it's time to eat and it's time to settle down and it's time to go to bed. But all you folks, and you're shaking your head, all you folks who want sunshine at 9 o'clock, it makes the day just keep going and going.
So back to saving. So I that's why I like the conversations. Let's relate it to life. You save for various things because you want to be prepared.
Yes.
It's better to be prepared than ill-prepared.
Yes.
And if we're not careful, we go back to that, okay, I lived decades and now what? Now what?
Right.
That has nothing to do with your heart posture, in my opinion. I think that to prepare for, there's a phrase in our industry that is sometimes referred to as a life of significance. That's a replacement for retirement. Because you get the opportunity at some point to, that's not what I'm doing anymore. So what do I want to do? And that is, maybe this is, I'm no longer working in a corporate America environment, and now I'm retired, and so now I want to, this is my time to give back. This is my time to, whatever it may be. Well, you if you save for all that time, if you save over all those years, little by little, that's a heart posture too.
Right.
Then you will then use that for giving purposes and for living purposes. So all of these, with the exception of now this one, which is,
hold on. Hold on. I have to go. See, I have to go through my finger, right? So we have generosity, savings.
That's right. So in retirement, when you're no longer working, well, you've saved.
You're done, right?
With income.
Yeah, that's what I
mean.
mean.
Income from another source. That's right.
You're not like done, but you're
right,
like done.
Right. Adios.
That's it.
Let's shut it down. That's right. So you're no longer saving.
Right.
Okay, but and sometimes hopefully you're getting rid of debt. Okay, you may not have a mortgage anymore. Right. Okay, generosity, spending, and taxes. Well, I think it would be prudent to make sure that I mean, my cost of living isn't going to go down. I could very easily show you how your cost of living increases. It's called inflation. Let's run through that for just a second.
Oh.
Hopefully you enjoyed that chapter. I like that chapter because I think inflation is so relatable to the rest of our life.
Oh, it is. I just don't like inflation.
Well, nobody likes inflation. That's like saying, I like the fact that I age. You think I like these bags under my eyes?
No, but I feel like I've seen more and understand more about inflation in just like the last couple of years. Well, let's say
because you lived it.
COVID.
Well, so real quick, in regards to inflation, when we saw the height of inflation, okay, and it peaked just above 9%, it's very important that you understand that our parents experienced something greater than that in the teens, and it was far more than we experienced it. It was for a long period of time.
Okay, I want to know when.
So that would have been the late 70s.
Okay, that's when I was born.
Right. So late 70s, and I think the peak of it was in the neighborhood of 14 or more %.
Oh my gracious!
So greater in regards to the percentage, and also lengthier in regards to time. Now, you know that was also the gas crisis, and so they were waiting in line for gas and all that. But so inflation, just for everybody to understand, I really like this thing called its Rule of 72, and it's called a rule. So there you go.
Got to follow it.
There you go. Bingo. So if you take the Rule of 72, and so you take 72 and you divide it by a factor, whatever it may be. Let's keep the math simple. Well, inflation in theory, the Federal Reserve would like to keep inflation around 2%. So if you take 72 divided by 2, you get
36. Yep, there you go.
So with that, if inflation stays at 2% for 36 years, which it won't ever truly do that, okay? But if it stays at 2% for 36 years, what was $100 is $200.
Right.
It doubled.
Okay,
that's what the Rule of 72 is. If you take 72, divide it by a number, your answer is the number of years it takes to double something.
Okay. Yeah.
Another one, just for namesake. So 72 divided by 10, 7.2 years.
Right.
It takes to double something.
Okay.
So luckily, inflation didn't stay at above 9 for years, but we did experience the cost of all goods go up. And it's also important to note that it spiked, okay? It went up, and it was here, and then it has come back down, but it went here. And when it goes back down, it's not going back down. The percentage is going back down, but it's getting smaller, but it's still going up. So I know that may not make a whole lot of sense, but I'll just try to keep this simple. If something was $100 and then it saw a spike in inflation, and now it costs, let's just keep the numbers simple, okay? I don't have my calculator in front of me.
Never leave home without it.
It is on the phone. But if you take it and say it went to $105.
Okay.
The next year saw inflation as well. Well, now it may be $105.32. But it didn't go down. It spiked, and it still stacks. These cost of goods and things of this nature, they're not coming back down unless we have something unfortunate happen, which that's the opposite of inflation.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, when it comes to saving, I think it's super important to remember that you are preparing for the cost of goods and our life increasing in cost, not because our lifestyle continues to ramp up, but because even if our lifestyle stays the same, our costs are going to increase.
Right. So it makes me think savings, right? When I was thinking about savings, automatically I thought about Joseph in Genesis 41.
Okay.
Because you remember that with Joseph, he knew that famine was coming.
7 years.
7 years of famine. And so he prepared during the abundant season for the season of famine.
I love the story. And the reason I really, really love the story, one, is God's word, but two, it's spoken of. I did not prepare for this. I believe 1/5 was what was kept.
Right.
Okay. So 20% was kept, stored over the 7 years, because there were 7 years, and if I believe I'm saying this correctly, they were so bad that they even forgot how good the previous 7 years were. That's how bad it was.
Like, that's pretty bad.
Right. But the reason it's a great story is because, one, Joseph's story, period.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
All that's really cool. But two, he knew that if we don't do this, we're in trouble.
Right.
Meanwhile, we still have to live.
Yeah.
So
in the preparation.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
So he didn't say we're going to move to Beanie Weenies. Okay.
No, Raymond.
We don't have to go to canned foods only. But he said we need to be good stewards of this and prepare for this. And so that's what they did. Yeah.
So then, okay, here's a thought. Here's a question. How can we know when savings is wise and stewardship versus when it crosses into fear and control?
I still go back to the same answer as before. What's your heart telling you?
Right.
Only you can tell you that. Only you can look in the mirror and say, which is not a silly exercise. Sincerely, it's not a sincerely exercise. Look yourself in the mirror and say, what are you thinking? What do you feel about this?
It's a good conversation. Again, it's, foundationally, it's why it's a good conversation to have early on in a marriage, because instead of looking
before the marriage.
Yes, before the marriage, right. So early on in the dating, and then if you make it that far, congratulations.
Well, it's a
Well, because then you're not looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
You can have those conversations, because as you referenced last week, you said, let's just say that running a household is like a small business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you don't have employees. You have family members, right? And then you have these family members that we're talking about who also are important to the running of the family. And so, then the opportunity to have that conversation with your spouse and say, hey, what season are we in? What season are we heading in? The Holy Spirit's really good about guiding and directing. And, what does this look like for us? Because I can say, again, personally, Jeremy and I have much more healthy conversations just within the last year about money than we have in the 13 years we've been together. It has always been a fight.
It's a maturation process too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
we're consistently maturing. But I think I want to come back to that. That's one of the things I really enjoy about growing up as a person is if you have a partner in this, that's key. Meaning that person is about the bigger picture as well. Mm-hmm. They care about you. They also understand that you're growing and that they're growing. And so mistakes are going to happen. Instead of you made mistakes, we consistently make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. So to overlook those is not necessarily healthy, but to forgive them and to continue to grow from them, I think, is a healthy exercise. So there's a reason why that this is becoming easier. It's no different than I can't stand New Year's resolutions, mainly because if you don't run a mile now, you're not going to run 5 on January 2nd. Right. And if you luck out and you do, you're going to be so sore, injured, or something of the like. And then until January 10th, you're recovering. Yeah. And they're like, never again.
That's it.
I'm done.
Over.
But that was only because of poor planning.
Yeah.
It wasn't because it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
It was a good idea.
But you're still setting yourself up for failure. Like you said, if it's something you're not already doing and active, then...
Right, but that's why you start with half a mile or you start with walking.
It's called couch to K.
Yeah, that's right. My business partner did that.
I did too. I ran my first 5K based on using the couch to K.
And you know what cracks me up about that is he did it and never ran again.
Me either.
He said, check.
I did too.
Out.
I did too. I wanted to do it. I was a runner in high school. I wanted to do it. It was something that just in the moment felt right. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the process of training for it. But when it was over, I was like, never again.
And see, I think we can run with this. You were investing in yourself.
Yes.
And you met a goal and then you pivot.
Yeah.
That's saving and investing. That's why these 4 siblings can cohabitate. I think we talked about it last time. Last episode, and I'll say it again. when you look at investing, I like the idea of what are you investing in?
Yes.
And we often think of the account type, 401k, et cetera, but we are also accountable for these various aspects of our life. I know we did the last episode. I think we talked about that. So how are we investing? How are we investing in ourselves? If I'm not investing in myself and then therefore being the best that I can be, well then, number one, I'm the first beneficiary of that.
Right.
And then again, as I've said multiple times, then that ripples out. That ripples out to the spouse, the children, peers at work, community. So investing in yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm only going to be the best that I possibly can if I'm investing in my health from a sleep perspective, what I take in mentally, food-wise as well, all these things. So I like the idea of these various thoughts of investing.
So which one do you want to dig into first, savings or investing? What are you feeling?
I think the sequence matters. So saving. So when you look at saving, in the last episode, we talked about the cash reserves, the break glass account.
Yep.
That amount varies by household and depending upon the income type. If one has a varying income type, maybe they're in sales or something of that nature, then their income streams can vary by month or week. And so you might have more cash reserves in that scenario. If you have a household with two incomes that are W-2 and steady incomes, well, then maybe you have a smaller amount. But in general, 3 to 6 months worth of your need for money is a good rule of thumb. So you saved for that. Now, after you save for that and that's accomplished, well, that's why we call it a break glass account, because you're not going to the well.
Right.
It's not an extension of your income. It's there just for the event, like we said, whether it's a difficult event or an opportunity.
Right. Because we linked, we said it, but now we're like full into it over here. But we linked generosity to saving.
Correct.
Because we said that not just for rainy days, or as I was telling y'all this morning, it's not just rainy days, it's boots and canoes and oars. Yeah. But there are also moments of advancing the kingdom and being loving and helpful and generous, maybe even non-monetarily as well.
So you have in many people who, for example, use the now ongoing tithing option, of which it's simply done for them.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not here to say if it's wrong or right. I'm glad they're doing it. That's what I would say. Yeah. Good for you.
Yep.
But I would also say that in regards to God loves a generous giver, well, if you see opportunities, whether it's the widow or the orphan,
right.
There's a young man that he's so awesome that just felt the need he's having this cool event and I wanted to invest in that event. And that's the generous giver. And I'm not boasting on me, I'm boasting on God changing my heart in that regard. But that's because Paul also speaks of this in Ephesians, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's know in your heart how much you're going to give. Be prepared for this. So when you think about planning from an overarching perspective and the use of the 5, okay?
Yep.
When you think about that, I think it's important to know that I'm going to, my intent is to be generous with this amount. My intent is to be saving with this amount. I know I owe this amount, which is debt. Just as a reminder, that's the ring finger, right? Yeah, there are a lot who unfortunately are married to debt.
There's a lot of things firing off in my head right now. I gotta be honest with you.
Right, and then we have taxes, of which we all pay in various forms,
right.
And depending upon where we live, then we pay in different percentages too.
I like that thought because it's like motivation over amount.
Yes,
and I'm thinking the reason why I'm thinking that is what you said about. You used the example of tithing. So we don't use like an automated tithing. It's a part of my weekly practice to tithe first before anything is paid. It just, for me, it just opened an opportunity to be thankful for what God had done the week before, what he's going to do that I don't know in the week to come. And so I like to have that opportunity. I like to be very mindful of the first gifts. That just works for me. And so I just, when you said that, I was like, wow, because, you know, again, if that's a bill pay system and it comes out and you're good with that, hey, that's your jam. But does it limit you? Here's the thought, not asking you specifically, but like, does it limit you from having the Holy Spirit move and be like a little more this week, you know? Or is that cool? Because, you know, the Bible talks about tithing and then we have like giving. Two different things. And maybe giving's not the right word. I'm trying to think of what biblically it says. But there's the tithe to the church, and then there's the gifting above that.
Yeah, so I think if a common pay structure is 26 pay cycles in a year, so every other week.
Yeah.
So the person who from that same date also sets up an auto tithe, to me, I don't see that as something that is wrong. That is truly first fruits.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it came in and it went right back out.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, I don't think it's my place to think for anyone else, but I would say that's why I like that still keep an open mind.
Yeah.
When 2 weeks ago, I heard of an opportunity, not the same one, but there was, because of some things that occurred, someone was in need. Well, I would not want to then auto shut that down because I'm auto tithing here. I would like to keep an open mind, do my due diligence, ask questions, and learn more about that. How else could I be generous? Maybe that's a call for me to be generous with talents rather than the financial side.
Right.
Going back to maybe it's the thought life. Okay. Because as a reminder for everybody here, there's the time, talents, treasures, and thoughts. It's something we talked about in the last episode. That's the generosity pie graph.
Right.
And
saving is really foundational to that, because you can't be generous if you don't have it. And to have it, most people would need to set aside for it.
Right. And I think that brings up another point that maybe some may be asking is, if we are giving in which we're then going into debt, I would encourage the thought of ask God if that's really where He wants you to be,
right?
And then listen to that, because God's word often speaks of debt, and so I don't know if that would be the best practice, but there are some that do that, and because they'll run with great stories of the widow who gave 2 mites, right? And so she gave all she had. Well, some may run with that, and I'm not saying it's wrong to do that, and give everything they have, and then they can't pay their bills or eat and things of that nature. That's all I'm saying is, you know, it's still a heart posture, whether or not it's 2 mites or 1 mite.
Right.
And so
that whole story right there, because we just came out of a season last year of out of context, and that's why it's so very important in all of Scripture to not just single out a story in a verse. Like the context of that whole story and why it was so powerful is what happens before it and then what happens after it. So when we single it out, we can run the danger of putting ourselves in a position of something God's not really asking us.
Right.
And so we have to be very careful. So when people want to lean on certain Scripture, again, I would encourage you to really make sure you understand that passage fully.
Right.
Before you just like slap it on your life.
Right. Well, and I think the same would go for, I don't really care to go down this path, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think the same would go for the way we judge others. What someone does with their income or whatever their income may be, that's their life or their plight. That's not.
They're going to answer for it one way or another.
Well,
like you're not going to answer for my financial decisions, woes, issues, high points. Like that, it's kind of like this stay in your lane business.
Yeah, well, that's your story, not mine.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of coming alongside each other.
Right.
helping each other with each other's burdens.
Well, you made a good point too early on. You said, here's the thing. When you step into that, I'm doing this, my language and your words. When you step into having a heart that maybe is jealous, envious, questionable, you're doing it with a blind eye because you honestly don't know what people do. It could be that after they've given 80%, God has been so good to them based on their talents and what they perceived that the overflow is still more of an overflow than maybe what's represented in my life.
Yeah, that may be the only thing you see is the overflow.
That may be it. But
that may be what they're living off of,
Yeah.
because what was pressed down is...
Yeah. And I think we really have to be mindful of that. We really have to be mindful before we jump on the bandwagon of who's doing what with what they have, because it's not, at the end of the day, when you stand before Christ, when you stand before our Heavenly Father, He's not going to be like, hey, what did Matt Miller do with his money? Let's talk about it.
Right.
He's just not going to do that. Not with me.
Right.
He'll do that with you.
To bring this back to saving, in our world, we may say, what's the number? What's the amount? What is enough? Yeah. And it's super important to understand that and to have conversations. I've made poor decisions in regards to climbing corporate ladders. The only reason I can speak to it is because I failed in making the right decision. I had a successful career. This is my second career.
Yeah.
And because I had to pivot. And I'm thankful for that, even though it cost me dearly. Mm-hmm. I am thankful for that because now this is part of my story. Had I known a number that was adequate and had, it shoulda, coulda, woulda. So I'm not trying to armchair quarterback, but I think that if more households understood a number that is a good number, to be content is a good word. Content is not a bad word.
Right.
And to know what that's going to do, go back to the saving over time, and that's going to hopefully grow with the markets and things of that nature, and then that's going to be this amount. And because we got rid of the debt, and because our children are no longer in the household, et cetera, then we now will have enough to live a life that is, whether you want to call it retirement or a life of significance or a life of giving back, whatever it may be.
And that goes back to knowing your goals, right?
Yeah, you get to repurpose your life.
Right. And it's going to look different from person to person to person.
Yeah.
Because all of our goals are different.
Yeah, yes. And one of the things that we've learned over the decades is the importance of staying active. And it's very important that when we're no longer in a career that is work-oriented, like 9 to 5, or I wish I don't work 9 to 5, but when that changes, a lot of the people that we have, the families that we have a privilege of working with, they're more active in retirement than they were when they were working.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're at the soup kitchen every day, but it could mean they're doing something, volunteering or whatever it may be frequently. And sure, they're enjoying life and vacation and things of that nature. But it's because they looked out and they planned for that.
Use me again. When I think of savings, I automatically think about the one side to the dollar. Okay, so that's money stored up for the things that I don't know could be coming. So I'm a very mindful of the 3 to 6 months period. I also utilize that in our lives, that I believe that's important. The problem is that it seems like something always comes up right before I get to it or right when I've gotten to it. Mm-hmm. And so I never quite make it to that break the glass account. Like, it just seems like I'm continually funding, trying to keep that there. And so I think when people think about savings, they think about the same thing. Money, need it in case something happens, whatever. We don't think about saving it to be generous a lot of times. We've already covered that. But what about in a non-financial way? Because you talk about saving beyond finances.
Well, I'll come back to that.
Good.
If I don't, then
I'll bring you back.
Throw your water bottle at me or whatever it is. But
we don't have to be violent on this show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We use words.
Thank you. the more you're able to communicate about these things, the better. And here's why. The reason I think it's difficult for many to save for the future is because they've never experienced that, the future. It's hard to set aside something that what you're most familiar with is the transactional side of money.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
You go to eat, you pay your taxes,
Play golf.
You play golf, you do
buy
all
fish
these.
and lures.
Exactly. And those are transactional.
Right.
Now you have experiences that are not necessarily transactional, and I don't want to just jump over those. Those are good. You're investing in your family.
Right.
You're investing in your health, all those things. But that's what you know. So it's hard to invest in something that you've not experienced. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, it's not only the experience, but it's what was the outcome? What was your whole attitude through that? I'll give you a good example. The fact that I'm divorced does not in any way, shape, or form negate the fact that I want to be remarried again.
Right.
I think marriage is the best thing, second to my relationship with Christ. I think it's the best thing, best gift alive. But I think it's super important that not everybody thinks about it like that. They went through something different than me, and they'll never get remarried again because the experience and the outcome, they don't want that. Well, the experience I enjoyed, the outcome I don't.
Right.
And I'm going to give it another shot at some point. So the same thing applies to the saving. If you don't have a healthy relationship with something now, well, it's hard to save for that in the future.
Yeah, very true.
So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, I don't want to use that loosely, okay? But let's just say that you have plenty of income and you could be saving, but instead you're not. And you're enjoying life. Well, you're enjoying the experiences and things of that nature. Well, that then is overshadowing the fact that at some point you're going to need to have money set aside.
Right.
Conversely, someone who's really struggling, well, it's just hard. They don't have the margin.
They're just trying to have their basic needs met.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, to your point, to each their own.
Right.
Now, don't throw the water bottle at me. Your question again was what? Your question again was?
Oh, no, I said, can you talk about what savings looks like beyond finances? So savings in life, savings in leadership, savings in family. So it's the other side.
Sure, the other side of the dollar.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So if you think about your strengths, okay, you, Miranda, you have strengths and weaknesses.
Yes,
okay?
I do.
So one person has both, okay? Just like the coin has the heads and the tails, the dollar has both sides. That's still you.
Right.
Okay?
It's the complete package.
That's right. So
the good and the bad.
That's right. So if you take that and then you parallel that to, I like the way Craig Groeschel says, everyone's a leader.
Yeah.
Whether you're a good leader or not, you're still leading.
Right. You're leading something.
You're leading something.
Yeah.
And so if you take your strengths and your weaknesses, if you want to develop as a leader, well, then what do you develop in? Now, there are two camps here. There are those that say, I want to note my strengths and I want to make them better, or I want to know my strengths and understand how to improve my weaknesses. Two different camps. I happen to reside in the camp that I want to know my strengths and I want to invest in those strengths. And in the areas that I'm weak in or that that's not charging my batteries,
right?
That's the importance of what I call the 1 Corinthians idea of that is I'm going to surround myself with people who that is their strength.
Yeah, that's good.
And so you increase the pool.
Right.
Because I would prefer to do this because then if I invite somebody in my life, then I increased my strength pool. Now, the half glass or the glass half empty person is going to say, but you also increased your weakness pool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if we do this really, really well, then my strengths could overlap those weaknesses. And in theory, we've shored it up better. We're better together.
Right.
Whereas if you have somebody or two individuals, like partnerships, like my business partner and I, the reason that we work so well together is because of exactly that. We don't have the same strengths. And so therefore we yield to each other's strengths.
Right.
We're not jealous or envious of each other's strengths. He's better at that than I am, so that's what you do.
Yeah.
And and then I have the things that I'm better at.
And then together it levels out because you're good at a lot of things, not just one thing.
That's right. But together we're aiming at this,
Right.
which is this organization is to bring value to people.
Right.
And so that's the same with the marriage. The husband and the wife are, okay, we came together. I think we talked about this in a previous episode too, is we brought our baggage.
Oh, all of it.
We both brought
Yeah.
luggage,
Yeah.
okay, or baggage. And so let's address that. And then let's also address, if we're going to talk about it, then let's talk about the carry-ons too. I think we ran with that. The strengths.
All of it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And then also, okay, so I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, and together we're going to make sure that the relationship, the household, is more often than not prepared than ill-prepared.
Yeah.
Because it is better to prepare than repair. Repairing is difficult and costly.
Yes, it is.
Where instead, if we do our preparation, if we're looking at our planning, if we are saving, if we're investing in ways that are healthy in ourselves and our accounts, and we're doing these things, then we're preparing for things that are in the future. And some of those are known. I don't know the future, but I do know this, and this is super important for everybody who hopefully will be listening to this. You can look into the future. I can tell you what's coming. You're going to age.
Yep. Check.
Yep. And what a blessing it is, to be frank. I mean, I look forward.
I'm way more wiser now than I was
look forward
before.
to spending eternity for sure in heaven. However, I'm here.
Right.
So I want to maximize that. So
Right.
we're going to age.
Yep.
Lord willing, we're going to launch our children well.
Yep.
We're going to be empty nesters. We're going to, at some point, hopefully say, okay, I call it the Johnny Paycheck. Take this job and shove it. We're gonna retire.
That's it. Roll it out.
Get it? We're done.
Yeah.
We're going to deal with aging parents.
Yep.
We're going to continue to age ourselves, and then at some point we're going
to be the aging parent.
We're going to be the aging
Yeah.
parent, and then we're going to die.
You know, with the way you put it like that, we pretty much know a lot.
You do. Everyone knows your future. That's my point. Is
Right.
to say that it's. I get on my soapbox about planning because I think it is the linchpin to the success of the family. It is the linchpin to the success of the organization. I've already talked about how the home can operate like the business. It's a
Right.
best practice, and it should.
Right.
To talk about these things is super important because as the children are no longer at home, and now it's mom and dad, and now it's, what do we do?
Yeah, like did you invest, not that we're going to investing yet, but did you invest into that relationship before it became
now it's here.
You two who don't know each other anymore.
And guess what that's like? That's just like a New Year's resolution.
If it wasn't working before, it's probably not going to work that great. You work on it, but out the pin, it's not going to be like.
And that's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
And so if the relationship is the number one priority, and we know these things are in our future, then while we're helping the current scenario work itself out, then let's also be investing in each other because we want this. We want this to be fruitful and productive. So talk about that now.
You got me over here changing my tier ones. So clearly my tier one, we're going to put faith there. We're not going to use this as an umbrella this time. We're going to say faith is number one. And then I would say family would be the next, right? But now in this conversation in my brain, I'm going, relationship to God, but like my spouse.
Yeah.
Because my kids are going to leave. They're going to go be other people's spouses. They're going to go have children. They're going to have a life. They're going to have a family. So you have God and then my spouse, who I'm going to spend, hopefully, if I make all these choices the right way, the days until I die. So I'm like, thanks a lot. Now I got to go home and rewrite my tears in the book. I just really appreciate that. Should use a pencil.
That's the different definitions of love.
Right.
And you love your parents different than you love your spouse, but you love them both.
Right.
And it's the same with your children. And that's why I dig the whole thought of saving and investing. That's why all of these are siblings.
Yeah.
Because the income comes in and how it's being used. By the way, if we're going to talk about income, let's also not forget the other things that come into the household. Income comes into the household. Opportunities come into the household. Struggles come into the household. There are various things that come into the household. To only talk about income, I think, is not doing it justice. We should talk about all the things that come into the household.
Yeah.
And then how are we managing and stewarding all of them? Right. And because if we talk about, hey, we want to do this, and we know that after this we want to go here, and then after this we want to go here, well, you don't get the luxury of, we get to go around it this way.
Yeah.
It's going to go in a linear fashion. It's called a timeline for a reason.
Yeah.
You don't get to skip or fast forward.
And planning is great. And I don't mean planning like in a financial, I mean planning like in life. Like I'm a planner. Use that new fancy word for it. But I'm a planner, that control kind of personality.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times I think about the scripture, like in Miranda version, your planning is cute. Don't be so, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because, right now, we're living a season where we've planned for things well. I would say we planned well for things, knowing what you said, the information we had on hand. We were able to save and plan with a goal. We had some goals. And, but, life has happened. Like, last year, life happened for us in a span of about 2 months. We had 3 surgeries. Mm-hmm. One that was actually planned. So we saved for that surgery because we knew it was coming. It was something that had to happen. And then 2 that knocked up on the front door and was like, hey, we're here. And thank goodness that we had saved for it. But even when you save, sometimes it goes out just as quickly as it came in.
Or faster.
I didn't want to say that. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. I think that's the importance of these ongoing conversations with not only our Heavenly Father, ourselves, our spouse, our children. I think to invest in our children and think about generational wealth differently than something that is followed by a dollar sign is super important.
Oh, I think you should lean into that first. Maybe we should save it for investing. I think. Are you ready to? You want to segue into that?
So real quick, saving. We've already discussed the importance of it because there are opportunities that lie ahead of our life that we're going to want to leverage to take advantage of. So I would just make sure that we remember we don't know the future, but we know these outcomes. Excuse me. We don't know the future, but we know these things are coming in our future.
Yes.
And to make sure you're talking about them.
And really quick, because I would hate to leave this thought without this, because I think this is such a good little nugget, and more of us could follow this, is saving our energy. You say to say no now, so you can say yes later. So
just like the tobacco story in the last episode, I only learned that because I said yes too many times. I said yes in this building more than I just. By the way, for everybody who doesn't know, we're in a church, and I had the privilege of being here for almost 35 years.
Wow, yeah.
And said yes a lot. Didn't say yes early on. There was a lot.
Okay,
there were a lot of no's.
No,
early on.
Look, no judgment here. Okay, no judgment here.
A lot of no's early on, but later a lot of yeses. And I don't think that had I gone to the Lord in prayer and talked about that, I don't think He would have said, "Son, I didn't ask that you're there sacrificing your family."
Right.
So I had to learn. I had to learn that. Yeah. So to learn how to say no more frequently is investing in yourself and saving margin and creating this equivalent to the reserves 100%.
And that's, again, inviting God into all the spaces, because as humans, we lend to all the yeses and all the things. And that's really where the Holy Spirit's job is, to guide and to shine light in the moment. And, even we're talking about making financial decisions, having margin. And I believe you said this, having margin gives us the space to enter into a conversation with God that says, hey, where are we jiving with this?
I would also,
financially and on the other side as well.
yes, if I may, I want to add, I don't think everyone does have the propensity to say yes. I think there are a lot of people who actually lean towards no more, and they need to, or I shouldn't say need to, it would behoove them to consider the idea of being comfortable with saying yes to certain things that are going to help them.
Right.
So one of the best practices that we encourage families to think about is, I'll just use this as a quick example in regards to their children. When they're juniors and seniors in high school, help them start doing the things that they're going to do in college. Stop doing their laundry for them. Help them understand.
You just gained like 500 bazillion people who are like, I love this man.
Good. That's a big number. So when you think about stop doing their laundry for them, help them understand what cooking means, life skills that are super important to them in college, because under the safety of your home, you're able to provide for them and investing in them so that when they do that, they're already going to be equipped. The same thing goes with credit. It's super important, we think, that at a certain age-appropriate learning, that they do have some form of a credit card. They're building credit because they're going to need it.
Right.
And so you're investing in them in these best practices and teaching them along the way so that they know how to save, so that they know how to be generous. I think it's a taboo subject. Money's often a taboo subject in a lot of homes, and I think we talked about that. But I would say, please don't do that. Now, you don't have to talk about how much is in the 401k and all that stuff, but please talk about the mistakes you've made in regards to whatever it may be, saving or giving, and share that with your children. They need to understand that you have made mistakes. If they have put you up on a pedestal because you don't talk about your mistakes and your failures, and so therefore they think everything you do is perfect, I'm glad that they honor you like that. Yeah. That's healthy. I'm not saying that, but then that may be creating angst or whatever it may be that is unhealthy because they don't know that it's okay to make mistakes.
It can also cause division, and I'll tell you how. I've seen it in therapy. I've seen it just in relationally that parents will be like, I don't want my kid to know X about me, right? Whatever the X is. And so often I would say, tell me why. Why would you not want, well, because I don't want them to know that I did that. And what if it makes them think it's okay to do it? And what if, it's embarrassing. It's something I don't want to think about. So I certainly don't want my kids to know that. And every time I would always answer with the same response. I'd be like, what if it makes you more relatable to your child? If your child thinks that you never did X, Y, Z, TQ, you were perfect, then they're going to go get their information from somebody who's willing to share their story. Mm-hmm. And sometimes our stories with people outside of our household, they don't align. Sometimes they do, very much so. Mm-hmm. I believe it does take a village to raise children. And so there are people that you allow in your space, that you allow in your boundaries, and you trust that they're on the same wavelength as you are. But let's be honest, there's a lot of people out there who are not on that wavelength, and they will be more than glad to tell your kids all the things.
And especially in today's world with the internet and availability of sharing and various social platforms. But again, that's why these are siblings.
Yeah.
Okay. Because to be generous with the time, as a parent, to be generous with my forgiveness of myself, and therefore helping a child understand that, hey, I did make the mistake. I'm not telling you it's okay to go do this. I'm actually asking you, please don't make this mistake.
And here's why.
And here's why. It cost me this.
Yeah.
And et cetera, et cetera. And to invest in those ways is far more important than any portfolio construction there is.
Yes.
Segue to investing.
Yes, go for it.
So
keep on. You're doing great. Keep on going.
So when I like the idea of the portfolio construction, it's also in the book. In all fairness, I'm a data nerd. I like nerding out on data. And
I
talking,
are not cut from the same cloth.
So it's a struggle, though, sometimes. And I realize that it's probably hard to be around me at times because of that. I try to be relational, but I don't think like the Matrix. I don't think like numbers running up and down the screen. But it is hard for me not to think about the data aspect of what it is. So if you look at the portfolio, I want you to, I'll give you an extra credit exercise.
Oh, man.
Exercise.
I like to be the one
no
giving.
homework. No homework.
Receiving.
But if you didn't, after you read the book, if you didn't, I do encourage you to go through that exercise. What's the portfolio? What is your portfolio construction? And look at it. Here are all my strengths. Here are all my weaknesses. Here are the things that I find useful and productive and fruitful. Look at your overall, all of that. That's the HHI. That's the household inventory exercise. Okay. Look at that. If you go through that exercise, if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, I don't really know what will. Because, not in a bad way, in a good way. If you haven't inventoried all the things that you have that are yours, that's a wonderful exercise. That's a life-giving exercise. And it's not just accounts that goes in the list.
Yeah, right. But there's so much more.
There's so much more. I am blessed to have both of my parents. I am blessed to have my sisters. I have a blended family. We've talked about that. I still have Val, my stepmother, just so people could see that. I don't refer to her as that. Daughter, sure, I've had my issues, divorce, but I have so much to be thankful for, and those outweigh the bad. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's that portfolio. That's Matt Miller's portfolio. That's what I get to work with.
Right.
And I think that's great. We live in the United States. I have my relationship with Christ. All these things.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So the reason I say that brings a tear to my eye, because that brings joy to me to think about all this that is, you call it mine or whatever, that I get the privilege of stewarding, and then I get to invest in these things. These are all things that I get to invest in. Well, if I didn't take the time to evaluate what I have to then look back then and invest in, then I think I could miss the boat.
So I know you're not an Apple guy. Like we talked about that earlier. You're like, oh, no, I'm not down with Apple. It's okay. You're still welcome here.
Thank you.
But I have found in the last couple of years that I have like about 12,000 pictures in my photo from on my phone, right? It's in the cloud.
That's right.
Right. It's up in the cloud. And people be like, why don't you do something about that? Well, I used to not, because I never knew like what I might want to go find or need to use or whatever. But in doing that and leaving it all there, I have found that on days where things are tough or rough, or maybe days where I'm just not even thinking, and I go there to look for one thing, and I look back at an inventory on my phone, and I sometimes forget some of the things we've done, like with our kids, or special little moments, or funny faces, or ministry moments. And in that moment, I'm so consumed with gratefulness because I get to see in my camera roll what I've been investing in.
Yeah, that's good.
And it has been tremendous, because there's a lot of days, and I think you could probably agree, and most people could, that some days I don't count it all as blessings.
Oh, yeah.
Some days it's just tough. Some days I'm not sure if I've lost my mind or God's lost his. I'm like, what are we doing here?
You may even forgot why you took the picture in the first place.
But when just like the inventory you're talking about, I have something right in my hand daily that I can go back and be reminded of what I invested in and be like, wow, that was a great experience.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that smile. I remember that he was doing this thing and he was so happy about that moment. And it really can change everything. It's that mental, it's one of those that we were talking about earlier, one of the T's. It's that mental perception. And I agree with you. I think it can drive everything else.
It can. And I think to do something like that, or to have our fallbacks, the things that we go to other than God, other than experiences, these things that help us reset.
Right.
We would all like to have the upward and to the right life.
Right.
Everything is continuously increasing.
Trending upward.
Trending
Correct.
upward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And in theory, it's a green line. Everything is up. Okay. But I call it the double click. If you double click on that and you zoom in on that, there are going to be parts of that upward and to the right that when you looked into it, were actually down. And it's just like the market or whatever it may be. It's continuously fluctuating, but in theory, you want it to continue to grow.
Right.
So as is life. So the portfolios that we build for ourselves, I think it's very important that we look at, for example, we talked about margin, we talked about space, we talked about the ability to say no. These are all attributes of our portfolio. And in regards to investing in monetarily, that's super important to have too, because you want diversification. Margin is a form of diversification in your life. If you're always on, you're not diversified. You're continuously doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, and your battery is going to burn out.
Right. I think that's the definition of insanity.
It could be. It could, yeah, especially if it's not productive. But if you look back at the portfolio construction, it's super important to make sure a couple of key things. One, what is your risk tolerance? That's a common phrase. I love these phrases that our industry uses because nobody really speaks like this. What's your risk tolerance?
No, so nobody's sitting around at dinner asking those questions?
Well,
maybe at your house.
maybe not. No, not in my house. They're not. But anyway, so what risk tolerance is basically is just what are you willing to accept in regards to market performance?
Right.
It's going to fluctuate. It is never going to always be green. It is going to have its red. So how much red are you willing to accept? That's essentially what risk tolerance is.
Right.
A parallel to that would be what is how much grace would you lend a spouse? Okay, because it's important that that's given.
Right.
Because the overall hope is that it's upward and to the right and green.
Right.
Okay, so how much risk are you willing to take on in a given time frame? Which leads to the next, which is time frame. What's the purpose of the money and what's its timeline? If it's a short timeline, such as we need the money for, we're going to have an addition to the home. Okay, so we don't want to put that in the market because we could see a red in
and
that
you could
time.
lose some of that.
You could lose
right.
some of
right.
that portion of that you set aside for the addition to the home, the renovation. So you would want to set that in maybe a specific account that is earning more interest because it's a short term. But long term, let's use a college conversation. Child is 2 years old, so then you have a college timeline of 16 years, but in theory, you actually have 20 years because you want to add the 4 more that are on top of that. I added the 5-year. I created the 5-year degree, by the way.
You created the I'd like to thank you for that personally.
My name is not associated with it,
but it's there.
but
right?
it's there.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome, everyone, for that. So, but that time horizon is longer. So, easy conversation. Again, the child is 2. In theory, in 16 years, they're going to college, but there are 4 years of college, so the time horizon is anywhere from 16 to 20 years. Well, that portfolio for saving for college, in theory, could see or be willing to take on more risk because you want it to grow more so that when it's available for use, it's there.
Right.
So that's time horizon. Okay. That's the time frame. So to know your risk tolerance, to know your time frame, to know the purpose of the money, to know the account types, these are super important to understand. I spoke of this earlier, I believe. Right now, this literally just changed, and it's changing this year, in 2026. So catch-up years for those of us who are of the age of catch-up, which is 50 or more. The catch-up must go toward the Roth portion, okay? So Roth 401k, traditional 401k, to know why you would want to go this versus that, that's super important, because you may want to kick the tax can down the road here in this type, but remember, you're going to pay the taxes at some point. So
they're getting it
one way or the other, for sure. There's always a beneficiary known as taxes.
Yes.
So
they come a knocking.
They're coming knocking. That's right. So anyway, to know different account types, again, I think it's super important to understand what your number is. What are you aiming for? Aim small, miss small. It's a phrase that I use in golf all the time. I want to visualize where I want to go, and I want to see how I want to get there. I don't want to look at the sand trap or the water, but I know it's there.
But you want to be mindful of it.
I want to be mindful of it. But that's not the focus.
Right.
And you know, you know more about this than I do for sure, but the sports psychology of this is, I don't want to think, don't hit it in the water.
Right.
I want to say, hit it here.
Yeah. You want to, where your goal is.
I want my goal. That's right.
Right. Because if you say that, most likely you're going to hit it in the water.
Well, yes, and our mind doesn't process the don'ts.
Yeah.
Okay. I once played golf with a gentleman. I don't even remember his name. It doesn't matter, but it was a course that I'd never played, and he had played there multiple times. And I would say, what do I want to do on this hole? What do I want to do on this hole? And I learned about hole number 4 or 5 that his answers were always, don't hit it over here. Don't hit it over here. You don't want to be there. You don't want to go there. And I think I eventually said, hey, man, if you would just tell me where I want to go.
Oh, that's good.
Because what you're doing is helpful. I appreciate what you're doing, but what you're initially creating in me is where I don't want to go.
Yeah, it's at the forefront, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing this rather than where I want to go.
Right.
And the same goes for investing. So what's the purpose of the money? What's the time horizon? What's your risk tolerance? It's super important to remember that what your risk tolerance is your risk tolerance. It's not someone else's.
Right.
In our world, the fiduciaries of this world, it is my responsibility, our responsibility to manage your money as you wish.
Right.
Not your money as what I think is best for you.
Right.
It is to provide education, it is to provide ideas, best practices, and then to provide portfolios that align with your risk tolerance and the purpose and the time horizon of the money. No other way around.
Right, because it's your job to manage the owner's money well.
That's right, which you could very easily go back to, whether it's Parable of the Talents, whatever it may be.
How'd you know I was thinking that?
We actually did not prepare for that, so I'm glad we're on the same mindset, but I think it goes back to that.
It does for me. It goes back, and again, stressing this has not always been the case, and I am not 100% great at it at the moment. I am a work in progress, but
Resto mod, that's what I call it.
There you go. But ultimately, the owner of everything, and there is scripture to back this up all throughout the Bible, is God.
Mm-hmm.
He is the owner. So if we look at our things, we look at our accounts, we look at our relationships, God owns all things, right? He has allowed us to step into relationship to be the fiduciary. I said it wrong, didn't I? I did it, get it somewhat right.
That's Southern.
Yeah, sorry. It's what you get. The money managers.
No, stick with fiduciary.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
We step into that role. And so as that position, just as important it is in your daily routine with real money, people's real lives, investments, what they find to be important, what they want to do, it is just as important, in my opinion, to do that with the tasks and the gifts and the tools that God has given you.
And relationships.
I'm in all that, yeah. All of it, everything that he owns, which is, let me say that again, everything.
Well, if you look at when Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment? To love the Lord your God with all your mind, your heart, and soul.
Yeah.
And the second, he says, is just as important, and to love thy neighbor as yourself.
Right.
I use thy. I don't read that translation.
Wow,
Anyway,
that's the King James Version translation.
Man,
Look at you.
That's all I got. That's all I
Wow.
got. Yeah.
Oof.
So to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's super important that you unpack what that says. If you don't love yourself, then how do you know how to love others?
Mm.
I could show you a portfolio of all the junk that I've messed up too, is my point.
Exactly.
So, but to forgive myself of that, to then say, okay, let's talk about this. I'm not going to play a victim mentality. I made these decisions,
Right.
so therefore I'm going to address that.
Right.
And so I think it's really important to look at that and to invest in that. Is then how you then love others well.
Right. I think we have to be good investors of God's belongings. All of them. Relational,
100%.
monetary,
Yeah.
time, space, energy.
And look at the benefit of it. Look at the benefit of it. I sincerely mean this. Let's go back to the parable of the talents. The one who buried it. Take away the bag of money, because that's what it was,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Take away the bag of money. Insert whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't care. A spouse, child, career, you name it. Insert whatever you want. If you bury that, it was a gift to you.
Yep.
And if you bury it and don't leverage it, and it, like it was said in God's word, why didn't you at least put it in the bank? Why didn't you at least put it in the bank and get interest? You know, it's also interesting. It doesn't speak to, it didn't spend it all, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't spent, but he was given that to then leverage it, to then make something of it, which is exactly why I think you and I have everything we have.
Yeah. God honors wise management.
Yeah.
I think what he entrusts us with, which we spoke about the talents in this episode and the last one, he gives to our ability, to what we're able to control and do with. I think a lot of that's based on maturity and learning and tests and trials, and well, let's just call that life. Okay. And it doesn't matter how small it starts. You've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I want to stay right here for just a few minutes, because I think it's also important to understand that God's generosity comes in various forms too.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is people in our life helping us or forgiving us, or think about when Aaron was helping hold up the staff. And I'm drawing a blank in regards to what book it was in the Old Testament.
Exodus?
I believe so.
Is he holding it up for Moses?
Correct.
I believe that's in Exodus.
Okay. So anytime that the staff came down, they would start losing the battle.
Yep.
Well, run with that for a minute. If that's not, we need people in our lives, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather have a bunch of brothers and sisters around you that are holding your arms up when you can't? Because there's a consistent battle around your life every day.
Every day. Absolutely.
And so hence the reason I totally agree with you, to manage these relationships well.
Yeah. To invest.
To invest in yourself, to invest in those. If you're getting poor sleep every night because you're, whatever the reason, but it doesn't matter the reason, and then you're not your best self, well, then the relationships around you are going to suffer. Flip that for just a minute. What if you do make a change and you get the right sleep and you invest in yourself, and you're going to be the beneficiary of that. You're going to improve it.
You're going to definitely see that green line grow.
It's going to go like this.
It's going to grow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't we want more of that?
Yeah.
But that requires change.
Yeah.
That
And change is hard.
And change is hard.
Let's put it out there. Change is hard.
But
it's the fear of the unknown.
It is, but I don't know. Maybe it's me. It probably is me. But
Probably not.
I just hate excuses that are just thrown out like that.
Yeah.
And then that's just.
But it's the easiest go-to, right? Because then, nobody really has to accept responsibility. We can just be like, well, everybody knows change is hard. Well, yeah, change is hard. It's hard for everybody. The Bible says life's not going to be peachy and rosy all the time.
No one.
It's going to go up. It's going to go down. Just like the markets. You don't know what's around the next corner.
That's right. But you should expect growth.
Yes.
And I'll come back to the money side of things. Over time, you should expect that your accounts are growing per the risk tolerance that you are wanting to invest. You should expect that. That is not something that my compliance department is going to have an issue with, because that's why you invest.
The expectation.
That's why you invest.
Could you imagine you're being, the money manager, me coming to you and saying to you, Matt, I want you to invest my money in whatever stock is doing the worst right now. I want you to do it right now. Do it. Most people would hear that and be like, have you lost your mind? Who no, there's no way that man's going to do that for you. There's no way.
Well, if I could, and I don't want to list any specific stocks because then that gets into other issues, but there are certain instances of which that is when you want to invest. You want to buy low. You want to invest when things are down. I'm going to go back to the cash, the savings. Okay? If you were to drive by a house that was whatever, don't even worry about the reason, but that house is highly discounted for whatever the reason. You don't even care about the reason,
right?
Other than the fact that maybe somebody passed away in it. But whatever it is, and you're like, wow, we could buy that right now. If you had the cash reserves,
right,
a lot of people would leverage that. The same happens in the market. As the market does tick down, it's going to happen. Well, that's when, with some of this dry powder, with cash reserves, it's specifically earmarked for things of that nature. You want to buy low because the goal is to grow it.
Right.
So you buy low and you sell high. So I know you were joking with that.
Yeah, but nobody's going to buy something that always trends low and loses money all the time.
No, I know you were joking with that, but I do want to make sure that people hear that. When you're only wanting to buy when it's at its peak and it's continuing to peak, well then you may be missing out on some growth opportunities, is what I'm saying.
Same in marriage, same in relationships. If you're only in it for the peak, number one, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
You are in big
I would look in the mirror for
trouble.
Yeah.
You can't be in everything for the peaks. You don't invest for the peaks, not always.
Yeah.
You don't always save for the peaks. It's the stuff in between. It's the life that happens. Like you said, it may be trending up, but there are dots and instances. Like right now, 2025 was a hard year, just for all types of reasons. And I could focus on that dot, but the growth was trending up all year long. And so I see that it would not have continued to trend up if I had not been through some seasons and some storms that course corrected or opened my eyes or built faith or established courage for me to continue trending up.
Yeah, and that's super important to understand in regards to investing as well, because it is a natural reaction in markets that are down in red. It is a natural reaction for some to have a knee-jerk reaction to pull out of the market.
Yeah.
Okay? But that means you accepted the loss and you will never get that money back.
Right.
So that's very important, because that's super important to our relationships too. If we shut down, because metaphorically speaking, the relationship is in the red, and if I shut down or I don't communicate, or if I just I'm absent, whatever it is, well, I'm not reinvesting in that.
Right.
Rather than buying low and hopefully selling high.
Nice. That's a good way for us to lead out of here. So
Okay.
can you believe it? Our time's up today.
That was quick, yeah.
It seems quick. It probably really wasn't, but it seems quick. So here's a summary for me, some quick takeaways. Saving equals being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And that can mean, again, it's not just monetary on both sides, right? Investing multiplies faithful stewardship. And margin protects peace.
Mm-hmm.
That's my takeaways. So, Matt, I'll ask you this. If listeners remember one thing about saving faithfully or investing, what should it be?
One thing.
Can you just do one thing? Can you think of one? I know there's a lot.
Be purposeful with what you're wanting to accomplish. And then I would say submit to the fact that help is around us. We all go back to that strength and weakness conversation. We could all be better by opening our hearts and our minds to people that are going to improve our life.
Yeah.
And so I would say be purposeful. Know what you're wanting to invest in. Know why you want to invest in it, and be comfortable in sharing that.
I'm so glad we met all the family members.
Yes.
I love
cash generosity, saving and investing.
Yes, and how they all just like a family, man. How they're all a part of one family, one bloodline,
Mm-hmm.
but they bring their unique qualities and even downfalls
Mm-hmm.
to the table. But without each other, they're not a team. And
The same goes for everything
teamwork
else.
makes the dream work, man.
Yeah, I love that because the same thing works for everybody else. You can have the strength known as a quality leader, but if you don't know the downside of what that can draw you away from, then that can be dangerous.
Yeah.
It goes across the board.
Yeah. So here's the extra credit.
You're welcome.
Here's the extra credit. I would say that for the next 2 weeks, maybe really take a good look at your portfolio in the sense of maybe it's as easy as grabbing your cell phone and looking at what you've been investing in. Maybe it's, sitting down. Matt's book is great. It does have a section where you can write it out, that you can sit at your table and write it out.
Mm-hmm.
What are you investing in? What are you saving for? Not just monetarily, but also relationally.
Mm-hmm.
And sit on that for a couple of weeks. Pray over it. Ask God where he wants to see movement. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. When you ask God to start moving, he does. He moves. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's very freeing in the moment, but what I will tell you is that is how we grow.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have that green line of growth, this is where you start. And if you're married, sit down with your spouse. If it's a hard conversation, let's start repairing that. Let's start working on that. If you need resources for that, there are tons out there. You can start with a pastor in your church. You can reach out to a counseling place. You can reach out to an owner like you who does this for a living. You don't have to do this alone.
No, and I would encourage everyone to also remember that the first person who's going to judge you is you.
Oh, no, and they're the worst judge.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
You don't have to do that. And there are a lot of people in my industry that they won't think like that.
Yeah.
They won't.
Yeah, and you just got to remember, God calls us to obedience, faithfulness, stewardship. He is not asking you to be perfect. He's not asking you to get it right all the time. He's not asking you to nail it today and nail it tomorrow. He is just asking for you to enter into a relationship with him in this upside down kingdom and trust him that he's got your back.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said it that way. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys. Well, look, we're gonna invite you to continue this conversation on social media or through the podcast. You can leave your comments there for Matt and I, and we will comment back. We will interact and talk to you. So we would love to see you there. Don't forget to like, share, and And just be present, man. Be present in this moment. Let God move. Let the Spirit stir. I know that can be uncomfortable. So yes, I am asking you to be a little uncomfortable in the weeks to come. And I believe that if you step into that, you will begin to see some really nice growth patterns.
You know, I've never thought about this before ever, but that's a risk tolerance conversation in and of itself.
Okay, we'll add that to the list. Look at how things happen here. They just come alive. All right. Matt and I cannot wait to see you again in our next episode. So make sure that you are here because we're going to be here waiting to discuss some more information with you. I can't wait. I'm not going to give any of it away. You got to come back to get it. So
right.
Until then, guys, keep stepping forward and we will see you later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.